Ambient abuse, the invisible trap of psychological manipulation. Ambient abuse is a type of psychological abuse that involves the constant exposure of a person to an environment that is hostile, belittling, and emotionally oppressive. It typically occurs within a domestic setting, such as between a romantic partner or family member and their abuser. This type of abuse can have serious effects on the victim's mental health and well-being. Symptoms can include depression, anxiety, stress, sleep disturbance, low self-esteem, suicide ideation, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Ambient abuse is also known as covert abuse, stealth abuse, or gaslighting. It is a subtle and insidious form of manipulation that aims to control the victim by eroding their sense of self and making them feel powerless. The abuser may also present themselves as caring, generous, and altruistic, while secretly undermining the victim's confidence and autonomy. The goal of ambient abuse is to create a psychological trap for the victim, in which they become dependent on the abuser and doubt their own reality and judgment. The psychological pathology of an ambient abuser. Ambient abusers are often people who suffer from personality disorders, such as narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder. These disorders are characterized by a lack of empathy, a sense of entitlement, a disregard for the rights and feelings of others, and a distorted sense of self. Ambient abusers may have experienced trauma, abuse, or neglect in their childhood, which may have affected their ability to form healthy and secure attachments with others. They may also have low self-esteem, insecurity, and fear of abandonment, which may drive them to seek validation and admiration from others. They may also have difficulty regulating their emotions, and may act impulsively, aggressively, or destructively. Ambient abusers may use ambient abuse as a way to cope with their inner turmoil and to maintain a sense of control and superiority over others. They may also use it as a way to project their own flaws and insecurities onto others, and to avoid taking responsibility for their own actions and feelings. They may also use it as a way to justify their own abusive behavior, and to rationalize their own lack of morality and empathy. Recognizing if you are the victim of ambient abuse. It can be hard to recognize if you are the victim of ambient abuse, especially if the abuse is subtle and gradual. However, there are some signs and symptoms that may indicate that you are being subjected to ambient abuse, such as: you feel like you are walking on eggshells around your partner or family member, and you are afraid of upsetting them or triggering their anger. You feel like you are constantly being criticized, judged, or ridiculed by your partner or family member, and you feel like you can never do anything right or meet their expectations. You feel like you are being lied to, deceived, or manipulated by your partner or family member, and you are not sure what is true or what is false. You feel like you are being isolated from your friends, family, or other sources of support by your partner or family member, and you are discouraged from having your own opinions, interests, or hobbies. You feel like you are being invalidated, dismissed, or ignored by your partner or family member, and you feel like your feelings, thoughts, and needs do not matter or are not taken seriously. You feel like you are being blamed, shamed, or guilt-tripped by your partner or family member, and you feel like you are responsible for everything that goes wrong in the relationship or in their life. You feel like you are being threatened, intimidated, or coerced by your partner or family member, and you feel like you have no choice or say in the relationship or in your own life. You feel like you are losing your sense of self, your confidence, and your identity, and you feel like you do not know who you are or what you want anymore. You feel like you are experiencing emotional, mental, or physical distress, and you may have symptoms such as depression, anxiety, stress, insomnia, low self-esteem, or suicidal thoughts. If you recognize any of these signs or symptoms in yourself, you may be the victim of ambient abuse, and you may need to seek help and support. Recognizing if somebody else is the victim of ambient abuse. It can also be hard to recognize if somebody else is the victim of ambient abuse, especially if the abuser is good at hiding their true nature and presenting a positive image to the outside world. However, there are some signs and behaviors that may indicate that somebody else is being subjected to ambient abuse, such as they seem to be unhappy, depressed, or anxious, and they may have mood swings, panic attacks, or suicidal thoughts. They seem to be isolated, withdrawn, or secretive, and they may have less contact with their friends, family, or other people. They seem to be fearful, nervous, or submissive, and they may avoid eye contact, speak softly, or apologize excessively. They seem to be confused, doubtful, or forgetful, and they may have trouble remembering things, making decisions, or expressing themselves. They seem to be defensive, protective, or loyal, and they may deny, justify, or minimize the abuse, or blame themselves or others for it. They seem to be exhausted, drained, or unwell, and they may have physical symptoms such as headaches, stomach aches, or injuries. If you recognize any of these signs or behaviors in somebody else, they may be the victim of ambient abuse, and they may need your help and support. How to break free from an ambient abuser. Breaking free from an ambient abuser can be challenging, but it is possible and necessary for your own health and happiness. Here are some steps that you can take to break free from an ambient abuser. Acknowledge that you are being abused, and that it is not your fault. You do not deserve to be treated this way, and you are not responsible for the abuser's actions or feelings. You have the right to be respected, loved, and safe. Educate yourself about ambient abuse and how it affects you and your relationship. Learn to recognize the signs, symptoms, and tactics of ambient abuse and how they impact your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. This will help you to understand what you are going through and to regain your sense of reality and self-worth. Seek help and support from others. You do not have to go through this alone, and you are not alone. There are people who care about you and who can help you to cope and heal. Reach out to your friends, family, or other trusted people and tell them what is happening. You can also seek professional help from a therapist, counselor, or a domestic violence organization. They can provide you with guidance, resources, and protection. Plan your exit strategy. If you decide to leave the abuser, you need to plan ahead and prepare yourself. You need to consider your safety, your finances, your legal rights, and your future. You may need to gather important documents, pack a bag, save some money, find a safe place to stay, and get a restraining order. You also need to cut off all contact with the abuser if possible, and block their phone calls, messages, emails, and social media accounts. Rebuild your life and yourself. After you leave the abuser, you need to focus on your recovery and your growth. You need to heal from the trauma, the pain, and the damage that the abuse has caused you. You need to reconnect with yourself, your identity, and your purpose. You need to rediscover your strengths, your passions, and your dreams. You need to surround yourself with positive, supportive, and loving people, and engage in activities that make you happy, healthy, and fulfilled. How to help somebody else break free from an ambient abuser. Helping somebody else break free from an ambient abuser can also be challenging, but it is important and valuable. Here are some ways that you can help somebody else break free from an ambient abuser. Listen to them and believe them. If they open up to you about the abuse, do not judge them, blame them, or dismiss them. Listen to them with empathy, compassion, and respect. Believe what they tell you, and validate their feelings and experiences. Let them know that you care about them, and that you are there for them. Educate them and empower them. If they are unaware or unsure of the abuse, help them to recognize it and understand it. Share with them some information and resources about ambient abuse and how it affects them and their relationship. Help them to see that they are not crazy, weak, or worthless, but that they are being manipulated, controlled, and harmed by the abuser. Help them to realize that they have the power and the choice to change their situation, and that they deserve better. Support them and protect them. If they decide to leave the abuser, support them and protect them. Help them to plan their exit strategy and to prepare themselves for the next steps. You can also offer them some practical and emotional assistance, such as lending them some money, giving them a ride, finding them a shelter, or accompanying them to a lawyer or a therapist. You can also help them to protect themselves from the abuser by advising them to get a restraining order, to change their phone number, to block the abuser's contact, and to alert their friends, family, or co-workers. Respect them and encourage them. If they are hesitant or reluctant to leave the abuser, respect their decision and their pace. Do not pressure them, criticize them, or abandon them. Understand that leaving an abusive relationship is not easy, and that they may face many obstacles and risks. Encourage them to trust themselves, and to believe in their potential and their future. Remind them of their strengths, their achievements, and their goals. Help them to regain their confidence, their independence, and their happiness. Important things to remember. Ambient abuse is a serious and harmful form of psychological abuse that can affect anyone, regardless of their age, gender, race, or background. It can have devastating consequences on the victim's mental, emotional, and physical health, and it can destroy their sense of self and their quality of life. Ambient abuse is not a normal or acceptable part of any relationship, and it is not the fault of the victim. Ambient abuse is the responsibility and the choice of the abuser, who has a psychological disorder and a malicious intent. Ambient abuse can be stopped, and the victim can break free from the abuser and the abuse. The victim can heal, recover, and rebuild their life and themselves, with the help of others and themselves. The victim can find hope, peace, and happiness, and they can create a new and better reality for themselves. Thanks for watching. We hope that you found the content informative and relevant. If you haven't heard it yet, you are worthy of respect and deserve to be happy. This is the Psychology Spectrum.